I'm going to talk to you a lot today about how to develop leaders because I think that developing district leaders, the first stage of the leadership, is probably the most crucial because until you have those, you can't have anything else. Until you have birth of a child, you can't have a man or a woman. And we're going to talk about that at heart. I'm going to hit a couple of points real quick. One is, recruiting is not the answer. A lot of people say recruiting is the answer to everything. I don't believe that. They say that recruiting electrifies a base shop. I don't believe it. See, I think successful recruiting electrifies a base shop, and successful recruiting is the answer. And getting people through the system to a district leader is the first sign of success that most people have. You hear us talk a lot of times about what we call the pipeline theory. And you've heard it a lot of times before, but I think you need to realize that when you get a lot of people come in the front end, a lot of new recruits come in the front end, what a tendency for us to do is we want to run around here and look over here and see what's happening. That's not the case. You want to keep pushing them in here, keep pushing the people in here, and you push them in and then you push them up, and they're supposed to come out the back end as a district leader. You ever wonder why you recruit people? It's like they come into the pipeline. It's like, what are they doing in there? Where'd they, is there something in there I don't know about? And then all of a sudden you start smelling something. It's because they stayed in so long they died. They're decaying. You know what I'm talking about? So you got to get them through the system up into a district leader. Now I'm going to talk to you hard about that today because that's the key that I've seen. That if you can get people into the system, a lot of people can get people in the system, but they don't get them through the system to a district leader. And if you want to know why the value of the district leader, well, let me just kind of relate something to you. I had a chance this past week. I contribute a lot of money to different churches and charities around the country. That's not a solicitation for some of you out there to start calling me so I donate money to your church and charities, okay? But I had a guy come in to see me from California. He's involved in a ministry that teaches churches how to grow other churches. And in that, let me give you some ideas that he told me about new churches. First of all, 70% of all converts, people who come and commit themselves to the church or to their various denominations, come from new churches. Let me give you another one. It takes 86 members of an old church for every one new convert versus a new church. It's 7 members of that church for one new convert. Now, what does that tell you? The new churches are started with the excitement, the energy, the vision. They're the ones who are recruiting more people. It's not the old. Now, why? And I wrote out, why is that? Well, think about this. The old churches are more concerned. You ever walk into an old church, it's like everybody's got the pew picked out. And if you walk in and happen to sit in an old member's pew, you get a dirty look because that's where she is set for the last 15, 20, 30, 40 years. In a new church, they don't even have a pew. They got a tent. They got chairs, maybe. But you know what they've got? They got energy. They got enthusiasm. They got excitement. They've got vision. And that's what builds an organization. It's the exact same thing. We get new people come to this system. The new people actually build this business. The new people are the ones who bring people, the ones who get excited because without bringing people, they don't get their advancement up into the company. So I'm going to talk to you hard about today. How do you get people advanced up through the company? Well, the first thing is you got to get a lot of new people coming in the front end before you get anything coming out of the back end. I'm going to talk to you about exploding. How do you get large numbers in a short period of time? How do you double digit? A lot of people think double digit means you got to go out there and recruit 10 people direct, and they scratch their head because they've never done that before, don't think they can do that before. I'm going to show you how you can go out and get 10 recruits in a very short period of time. We got to stop thinking about evolving, taking our time building this business, start talking about exploding. Does that sound more exciting to y'all? I want to get explosions going here, not this evolution type thing. By the time I get this thing evolved, I might be dead, right? So here's what they said it was. Number one, here's what I think you've got to do. Today, you got to make a decision. Okay, I'm going to decide today to become a recruiter. Now, even if you've been involved in sales, okay, let's say you've been the kind of person that's been out there in the F&A and across the kitchen table, you've been primarily in sales. I'm telling you, you can make this transition from being a salesperson to being a recruiter relatively easy because you're already good at being able to persuade people and convince people and show people what they need to do. You just need to show them what they need to do with their personal finance. You need to continue to do that, but also what they need to do with their life, with their career, with their future. It's all the same. It's still a salesmanship. It's still a leadership fact. You got to be a leader to get people to buy a financial service product. You got to be a leader to get people to come in and buy our concept of the future here at PFS. So number one, here's what they tell me to start any grassroots movement. Anytime you're going to create a movement, anytime you're going to create an explosion, anything, number one, you have to believe in something. You have to have a sincere belief that this is something good for people. Now, how many of y'all out there believe this is something great for people? We all believe that. Now, if we all believe that, the second thing is you got to emotionalize it. You got to get to where you can emotionalize what you believe and what you feel. That's the passion that we must have, the passion that we must feel, because until you believe something, you're going to have passion. You can't get passionate about something that you don't believe in. I don't think, unless you're a phony, and I don't think you can be a great leader, build something big, create a movement if you're a phony. And we're not phony people. Phonies don't make it here at PFS, do they? They don't make it. They don't hang around. So you got to believe in something, you got to get emotional about it, so you get passionate about it. And at that point in time, you start verbalizing. I mean, you can't be around me long and for me not to talk about things that are important to me, my religious life, my kids, my wife, things that I see. You emotionalize things. You get passionate about it, don't you? I mean, you talk a lot about things that you feel strong about. And then what happens is, if you start doing that over and over and over and over, you start verbalizing over. You know what somebody says? They say, somebody, well, I feel the same way. Hey, I know I feel the same way. And then when they start feeling the same way, you know what they do? They start emotionalizing it. They start verbalizing it, and they start telling everybody about it over. And you create a movement. Now, the question you need to ask yourself is, on a daily basis, how much are you verbalizing what you do here? I mean, how much? That shows you your true belief. Now, if you're not sharing this concept with people, if every time they walk by you, you don't jump all the old 3-foot rule. I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. If they say, well, they weren't close enough, well, then move closer. You got to get to where people are and share. You can't wait to share what you've got. You ever buy a new car? You want to go out and you don't leave it in your driveway, and then people don't come in and look at your car. You take that car and show people. See, let me go this. Let me tell you what he said. Here's what he said. Think about this. Churches, the objective of a church is not to bring in converts, it's to build more churches. See, that's what we got to be thinking about. The objective is, when you're born as a child, you grow up and you become an adult. Well, that's not where it's supposed to end. That's not your objective, for you to grow personally. Your objective then is to reproduce and bring about new birth. That's a tree grows, and it only grows to a certain size. And the key is not the fruit of the tree. The key is how many other trees that tree builds and produces. That made off the seeds that it comes off of it. That's the same thing our business. The fruit of ours is not the sale. The fruit of our business is how many builders we produce out of our businesses. Does that make sense to you? Okay, now let me kind of shift here. So he said, what is the reason these churches, and same way your businesses, what is the reason these things don't grow? Number one, the new church, or your new business, or a new person you bring in, they're energized. So this is important of why we're going to recruit, get this mindset going. They're energized. Number two, they're excited about everything that they see and do. Now, think about this. A lot of us hire people, we tell them, don't say anything. That is insane. Are they going to say something? You know they're going to say something, and it might be the wrong thing. But you know what I found out? Even if they say the wrong thing, it don't matter, because they're so excited. So they're usually stutter and stammer, and they say, well, that don't matter. Come with me anyhow. Or they get the appointment. I mean, because they're not thinking about it. They're just emotionalizing. They're verbalizing. A new church or a new organization, they're forced to use the talent they have. See, that's the reason you have these new churches. Why is it? It's seven members, they bring in one convert. Whereas the old church, they got tons of people around, but what are those tons of people doing? They're sitting around doing what? Nothing. See, in a new organization, if you rush a guy to district leader, yeah, maybe they don't know everything as much as the vice president or the regional leader's been around forever. But you know what? You look at them and they're at a meeting, and you get the opportunity meeting going, and after the opportunity meeting, you see this little district leader over here. I think about in our base shop back home, and you got this little district over here, and they got their 2 or 3 people. They're out there. They're just ranting and raving. They're giving their own little meeting. See, that's what things all about. That's where the excitement comes on. And that's now you're using your talent. Or if it's just an old, dull, dead one, just one person speaking, nobody else is sitting around doing anything besides listening. And that's not how the business grows. You want other people participating. Does this make sense to you? Okay. Now, let me show you how we start everything off what we do. See, I never wait for a recruit to say what I do next. I don't ever wait for that. I tell them, okay, here's what we need to do next. As soon, and I'm going to talk to you about recruiting philosophies and mentality, but as soon as I bring someone in the business, introduce them to the company, then the first thing I do is I get them on what's called a fast start planner. Now, the company used to use this. I checked with the department yesterday. I'm not sure if it's still in stock, but we use this. Now, it's called a fast start planner. You notice it's called a fast start planner. It's not called a turtle run. It's called a fast. You get off to a fast start. So I talked to them about, here's what I want you to do. The first thing I want you to do is I want to find out what kind of goals you have. What do you want to accomplish? What do you want out of this? And this is the key to recruiting. You got to find people who want more and that are willing to pay the price to get it. If you find people who want more and not willing to pay the price, you're not going to win with those kind of people. Everybody starts off. If you're going to an auction, anybody ever going to an auction where they bid on things? Everybody starts off wanting that antique. But when the price gets a certain level, they start dropping out like flies. They don't wave their hand anymore. They don't want to participate. We got to find people who want more than our life and are willing to pay the price. That's what this thing comes down to. Now, if they're willing to pay the price, they want my life, I set them down and I get their goals. Now, this is something I'm very fanatical about. I get their goal. I mean, right up front, I want to get their goals. But if you think about most people, have they ever set goals in life? Have they? Never. They've never set goals. So what is our job of a leader? To teach them how to set goals. Now, the one way you teach people is to have them see you doing the same thing you want them to do, right or wrong. They're going to learn from what you do, not from what you say. And if you say something and do it, and that's a conflict, then you lose credibility with those people. So you will never catch me, never, ever, if I got my clothes on. If I don't have my clothes, you're probably not going to catch me, okay? But you'll never catch me without my goals. I've got my individual goals of how much production, recruits, how much income, all the things. And I carry this with me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, wherever I go. If I'm going to the gym, if I'm going to church, wherever it is, I've always got my goals with me. I carry them with 24 hours a day. Now, why is that important? Because I'm creating a team that does the exact same thing. Now, you got to see if they don't have goals, why are they going to do all this? There's no reason to recruit, no reason to do all this if they don't have goals. So we teach that right away. So that's the first thing with Fast Start Plan. You got to have goals. What do you want to accomplish? Well, the first goal that I put in their mind is I want to get them to district leader. That's my first objective. My goal for them, help them to get to a district leader within 60 days, worst case, but I try to get them there within 6 weeks. Now, I don't know what your goals are. You could say 8 weeks, whatever, but my goal is in 6 weeks. I want to have you the district leader within 6 weeks. Now, what does it take? They don't know what it takes to get to the district leader. We got to get 6 training sales and 3 recruits within 6 weeks. Now, how hard is that? Should that be hard? It'd be impossible if you don't have appointments, if you don't go see people. So what am I doing? I'm creating a sensory. What do they have to do right away? What's the first thing? They're going to have to see people. What, do they know anything about setting appointments? Not a thing. So whose job is to teach them how to set appointments? Me. So now I've got a sense of urgency. I know too. Now you ought to write this down. Think about this. Here's what I do. Here's the sense of urgency that I have in everybody I hire or bring in. You don't actually hire them. Okay. So a sense of urgency is this. They're either going to get to district leader or they're going to quit. Now, see, that's my mentality. District leader, quit. I'm talking about being a district leader. How long? 6 weeks. So my philosophy is either a district leader or quit within 6 weeks. Now, they're probably not going to quit, but I'm going to try to ensure that by doing everything I can to make sure they don't quit. So here's what I do with them. First thing is I set them down, and I got to get a market. So I talk to them about the importance of establishing a market. Now, who knows about the market, me or that recruit? Me. Now, here's what how I relate to market. I talk to them about the marketplace. It's just like a car lot. It's blank. If it's a blank car lot, how much money are you going to make? None. Why? You don't have anything for anybody to buy. So I said, this is your product. These people are your product. Okay, this is what we're focused on. So we make a list of the type of people we want to see, and I make sure that they understand there's certain types of people we want to see, because these are two things we're trying to have happen. Out of this marketplace right here, we want to develop a client base, but more important, we want to develop a sales force. So I get them thinking that client-based sales force, client-based sales force, client-based sales force. We want to get 6 training sales in, and we want to get the 3 recruits and the 3 PFAs in. This is what our obsession within 6 weeks. Sense of urgency. So we got to have appointments. Well, where's the appointments going to come from? This marketplace. Where's that marketplace going to come from? That's going to come from their warm market. If they don't have a warm market, think about this. That's what they're supposed to bring the kitchen table. So one of the things that we want to make sure is that everybody we bring in has a warm market. So how do they know how to develop a warm market? They don't. So what's that? That's a job of a leader, of an upline manager. Somebody working with that person is to teach them how to develop the market, and teach them, first of all, teach them what the market actually is, and then how to develop that market. Number 2, so you teach them what the market is, how to develop the market, and then number 3, how to expand the market, which I'll talk to you about that in just a second. But you got to keep that market growing, because once they're out of inventory, once this market is depleted, they're out of business. So what you want to do is you want to create a sense for us in their mind right away to know, I've got to keep this thing going. Now, listen to me on this one. Most of us, once again, don't want our people to talk. But in the early stages, based upon the information I just gave you about church growth and et cetera, isn't that where the biggest growth comes from? That new person. 70% of all the converts come from new churches. Well, if you teach your people how to form, steam, prospect while they're excited, energized, you don't have to have a license to recruit. I don't think in most states you don't. I don't think you have any in any state, okay? So all you got to do is teach them verbiage, teach them how to go out and make touches. So I'll hit that with you a second. So this thing never depletes. Now, the next thing we do is we want to move their market into the calendar. So here's a 6-week planner on the back. Now, what do we talk to them about? Well, if all you have to get is 6 sales, 3 recruits in 6 weeks, then if that's the case, then all you're talking about is 1 sale a week. So we actually write it. So you got 1 sale a week, one client a week over 6 weeks, and you got your 6 training sales in. Then you've got to get 3 PFAs, associate PFAs in. So that's only maybe 1 every other week. Now, I promise you, everybody out there can do that if you create a sense of urgency to get them out there. Now, here's what I ask them. This is your choice. If you're going to make money with our company, I assume that's why you're coming in, and let's assume $1,000 premium, not saying that's going to be the average premium, let's just say it is, and you're on a 25% contract just off the top of your head, would you rather make $250 off that sale? Or if you're on a 50% contract, would you rather make $500? See, I want to check their intelligence level right away before I start working with them, okay? Because their judgment may depend. See, if they're driving the car, I want to know what their judgment is. See, if they're driving the car when I'm not making sales, I want to know what their judgment. So they say, well, I'd rather make $500. Then you know what we need to do? We need to get you a district right away. And then I explain the value of overrides. See, $250 override to me is a heck of a lot better than $500 in personal sales. In personal sales, I tell them up front, in personal sales, you're either going to burn out or you're going to max out. Either way, you're going to be out. And I don't want that to happen. I want you to stay in forever and want your dreams and goals to come true, because that's why we establish these dreams and goals, to make them come true, not for you to have a negative experience in life, but have a positive experience in life. So my job is to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And that means you need to get yourself a district leader, get your little team developed, get your business out there growing. So we work with them strong on that. And now they got to send services. Now they need to get out there and build themselves a team. Now, how many of y'all have ever heard anybody talk about double-digit recruiting? Anybody ever heard about that? Double-digit recruiting, okay? Let me show you what I try to do with everybody I personally bring in. Once again, I got them thinking immediately about becoming a district leader. How fast? 6 weeks, okay? 6 sales, 3 recruits, 6 weeks. They don't know but I just focus on. I don't care about the sales. I could care less about sales. What I care about is get them up to district leader. That's why I'm fanatical about becoming district leaders in 6 weeks. I want them to have a team built. By the time they become a district leader, I want to have a team built for them, right? Now, here's what I want to do for that person. I want to transfer my knowledge to that person. I want to give them everything that I know. I want them to see, now, what's the best with it? They need to be with me. And the way that I do it is if I'm going to transfer my knowledge, if I'm going to transfer responsibility, if I'm going to transfer confidence, they need to be with me. Now, here's how I think that happens. If I'm going to go out and work their 30 name list, and once again, if you can see 30 people in 30 days, there's no way in 6 weeks you're not going to have that person in the district. It's going to happen. I promise it's going to happen. But if I can get them now, as we go across that kitchen table, and this is where I want to build their knowledge. We're going to go see people. Now, why are we going to go see people? To make sales? Is that why we're going to go see people? No. Why are we going to go see people? No. Why are we going to go see people? Because I'm going to get that person district leader. So I'm going to go see people to get that person district leader. I don't want them. That's why we're going out. I'm so fanatical about getting you to that higher contract, getting you to district leader, that this is the only reason we're going out. See, we're going to go across that kid's table as fast as we can, as many times we can, any way we can, because we're going to get your Fanny up to district leader. Now, we can't do that if we don't go see people. So we got to go see people. So the sense of urgency is go across that kitchen table. Now, when we're going across that kitchen table, what are you going to see me do? What are you going to see me give? A flip chart presentation. What are you going to see me talk about? All the financial service products. But you know what you're really going to see me talk about? An unbelievable business opportunity for that person sitting across that kid's table. Now, who determines who we go see? Who determines that? I do. The leader determines that. See, I got the knowledge of knowing who we're supposed to go see. Now, where did I get that? Where did I get those people to go see, though? Off of that person's 30 name list. And so I am fanatical about qualifying that. Then I say, okay, these are the people we're going to go see first. We go see those people, and we sit down across the kitchen table. Now, when we're on the way to that person's home, so as we're going to this person's home, what am I doing? I'm building a personal relationship person. I'm also talking about their dreams, their goals. I'm talking about what they need to know, what they need to say when they get there. When they get there, then I'm sitting there, and here's what you see. You've got mom and pop sitting over here, and you have the manager sitting here, and you have the associate PFA. Now, I don't think we think about this enough. See, everything I'm doing, I want that associate PFA to sit there and think, man, this ain't that tough. This guy, I thought Whittle was smarter than this. He ain't that smart. And then he goes back to office, and everybody says, well, I could have told you that. Okay. But when we're out there, I don't want that new recruit, once I finish, saying, oh man, I can never do this. You're unbelievable. It's so impressive. My presentation being so complicated. See, here's my goal. My goal as a trainer, as this person right here, a future district leader, is I want this person thinking I could do that. So I got to have a pleasing personality when I'm sitting across the table with that person. And I got to have a very simple presentation. if that recruit, not just mom and pops, it's one thing for mom and pop to understand or not understand, but this new recruit's got to think the same thing. Hey, I like being with this person. I'm proud to bring this person to see my friends. I know these people are thinking the same thing. This is a good guy. I understand what he's saying. This ain't that difficult, because what I want this guy believing is, or gal believing, that they can do it. And the other thing is, I want these people thinking, hey, if old Bob here can do it, I can do it. And I'll turn about halfway through the presentation when I'm getting ready to go in the recruiting part of it, and I'll say, Bob and Sally, if that's her name, Bob and Sally, can you do what old Bob's doing? Old Bob's his head up, and he's been down there eating the cookies and drinking the milk. He's taking notes, and I always have him take notepads because I want him taking notes. And I tell the recruiter up front when I go in the house, the prospects when I go in the house, I say, listen, if you don't mind, old Bob's going to be taking a lot of notes here. The reason he's going to be taking a lot of notes is eventually he's going to be doing what I do. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, but I'd like for you to ask me a lot of questions, because any question you could possibly ask, I'm probably going to know the answer to. I've been doing this for a long time. But Bob needs to hear it so he can learn. Does that make sense? They say, yeah, it makes sense. So what I'm doing is give them permission to ask questions, get involved. And now it's like a team deal. We're all three training old Bob sitting here. But you know what's really happening? I'm getting them involved. They're getting there because I'm going to recruit them. For who? Not for me. I'm going to recruit them for Bob. But now think about this. What's my mentality? I got two sets of my mind works both ways, right? Up front, I'm thinking Bob's going to be a what? A district leader. In the back of my mind, thinking what? Bob's going to quit. Now, if Bob quits, if Bob dumb enough to quit, I can't lose. I gotta make sure I win. As long as you're not one of those people that quit, you're okay. You're going to win if you keep doing the right thing long enough. Well, as I'm sitting here making this presentation, now here's what I'm thinking. Eventually, this associate PFA, in other words, Bob, eventually is going to be on his own. Now, if I don't transfer my knowledge to Bob, then I'm not going to win. If I don't but listen, if Bob just sitting there drinking the milk, eating the cookies, not doing anything, there's an analogy I learned from a good friend of mine. Jim Hoyt does some training, and he teaches this. If I pick you up in Orlando, Florida, and we're going to go to Disneyland, and I get in the car and we're driving, we're talking, we're excited, and we get there, and you tell me, oh, I forgot my car keys back at the airport. I said, no problem. Here, take my car, go back to Orlando, and get the keys at the airport. Well, you'd probably give me a puzzled look, because you probably would not have paid enough attention to go back to Orlando Airport. But if I told you on the way there, now listen, you're going to have to get yourself back to Orlando Airport by yourself, what would you do? You'd pay attention. You'd probably even take a few notes down. Why? Because now I'm shifting the responsibility over to you. That's the key to training and raising up district leaders. We can't assume all the responsibility. We got to start shifting the responsibilities over them immediately. That's the key. Transferring all knowledge immediately, shifting all responsibilities immediately, and shifting all confidence immediately. So we got to learn to handle every situation that comes up. And then most importantly, once that appointment's over, now we're driving to the next appointment. Why are we driving to the next appointment? Because we absolutely never, ever, ever go on one appointment. Not just one appointment. We don't do that. You can't just go on one appointment. You got to go on multiple appointments a night. All right? Now, why? I'll come back to this. Now, we should have that off. Okay, here we go. Here's what we do. We're not going to just go see one person a night. We're not going to do that. It violates the principles of training. I've got to teach this person right. We're going to see a minimum of 2 and probably 3 people in an evening. Some of y'all say, well, Bill, I can't get my presentation that bad. Well, then you're talking too much. That's also why you're not recruiting enough people, because you're out there, you're camped out in their house. Your car's been in the driveway for 4, 5, 6 hours. The kids can't get their cars in past you. They're fixing to start breakfast, and you got there dinner time. I mean, you got to get in and get out, because you want them to have that. That needs to be a pleasurable experience to having you in their house. Does that make sense? Because how are you going to get them to come down to your office if it wasn't a pleasant experience when you're in their house? They don't want to be around. So you should be in and out within 45 minutes, hour to max. That means gathering all the information, giving a quick flip chart presentation, and talking about recruiting them in the business. So 2 or 3 appointments a night. Now, why is that? Let's say you go out and see 2 to 3 nights a week. You work on a part-time basis, and let's say you got six of your district leaders out there working. Well, think about this. And you're talking about having an op meeting. Well, every dadgum day ought to be every appointment ought to be an op meeting. So if I'm a district leader, if I'm out training somebody, and we go out, say, 3 nights a week, and we see 2 people each that night, how many are we seeing? 6. Now, what if you got 6 district leaders out there, or 6 field trainers out there, whoever's doing your field training? How many new people do you see that month, that week? 36. I venture to say most people in this company don't have 36 brand new people that opportunity meetings. Amen? But you just got a chance to give 36 opportunity meetings one-on-one. And that's where recruiting comes down. If you can't give great recruiting presentations one-on-one, you're never going to explode your business. If all you're doing is waiting for one meeting for one person to get up there and do a great job, it ain't going to happen. We got great inviters, but we don't have great recruiters.
Everybody's got to become a recruiter. Every appointment's got to be an opportunity meeting. See, when you think about an opportunity, you wouldn't think about an opportunity, not be excited and positive, and blowing and going. Well, why should any one-on-one be any different? Every time you give a presentation, that's an op meeting. That's a little mini op meeting. Make sense? See, everything you're doing as a leader is to develop those future leaders. So think about that. In everything you're doing, your job as a leader is to develop those future leaders. If you develop whoever develops the most future leaders, that's who wins in this company. Now, this is the difference. There's not that much difference in, say, my base shop and maybe your base shop, but here's the difference. This is called the piston theory. I've got about 20 to 23 direct legs that I work with. Okay, that's people I've personally recruited, maybe some replacements, whatever case might be, but most of them are people that I've personally recruited. Now, if you look at the piston theory, you see some of them are up, some of them are kind of doing okay, some are down. That's true in every base shop in the nation. You're never going to have your best guys up every month. Some months are going to be okay, some they're going to be down, some months the other guys are going to be up and down. But what we tend to do is we tend to focus only on those who are up, and we don't realize the next month that's going to flip-flop. Some are going to be up, some are going to be down. You got to get fanatical about getting wide as you possibly can and developing legs that 1 month some's up, 1 month some's down, some's doing okay. And the way you do that is you grow and develop more personal directs. Okay, now, most people like to double-digit recruit. Most people have probably never in this audience or on this TV have ever recruited 10 directs in a month. That's not the objective. See, the objective is to recruit 10. Now, if you're going to build multiples of 10, if you're going to build, you've got to get at least 10 or you're not going to build an organization. Now, here's what we try to do. If I go out there, if Bill goes out there and recruits Bob in the business, what's my objective with Bob? Get him to district, okay? So how many people do I have to recruit for Bob? 3 recruits, all right? Minimum 3 recruits. So if I have old Sally here and old Betty over here and John over here, as soon as I recruit Sally, immediately what am I fanatical about doing with Sally? The district. Now see, and then what have I got to do to get her to district? And how long have I got to do it? Okay, I got 6 weeks. So what have I created there? A sense of urgency. What do I know about Sally? She's either going to be a district leader or what? Quick. Now I'm trying to do with Bob, I'm trying to get Bob to a district. So as soon as I recruit Sally, we call that a lock nut. I have kind of locked Bob in. So you got to get fanatical about recruiting people as soon as you get them in, and then this just becomes a lock nut. But the objective is not just a lock nut. The objective is what we call a toggle bolt theory, that what we want to do is we want to drive through that and go wide. So we don't want to just recruit one person. I understand that locks them in. You want to recruit multiples of people, and we really want to tie that person in permanently. So you want to get through, go wide as fast as you can, down through that person. So if I recruit Sally, what's my objective? Get Sally in the field, get her 6 sales, 3 recruits, get people coming up to me, start recruiting down through Sally. Now, what about as soon as I hire Bob? Same thing. So I might go out there and I've got somebody with Bob. Same thing if I got over here with John. Now, if you look up, I recruited Bob. How many people I directly recruit? How many? 1. And then I recruit 3 people for Bob. How many people is that? 4. But what if I just get a couple of people recruited for each of them, or maybe 1? All of a sudden you look up, you got 10 people. Now you think about this. Here's old Bob, 6 weeks ago, didn't know nothing from nothing, right? Now think about the old church, new church. All of a sudden, here's Bob. He's got a team built. He's now getting his license. He's moving forward. He's been out field. He's seen sales made. He's seen flip chart presentations. He's getting his license. He's moving forward. Why is he getting his license? Think about this. You think about how hard it is. It ain't hard to get people licensed. Why is it not going to be hard to get people licensed? Because he's got to get licensed. If he don't get licensed, he don't get what? He don't get any overrides. And I've already sold him on the value of overrides. So he's thinking, I got to get licensed, but I can't slow up. Why? Because Sally now is becoming a what? A district. So what's Bob got to keep doing? Unless if he doesn't, he'll get flanked, right? So I say, Bob, this is unbelievable. Look at old Sally. She's taking off. She's got 4 of her sales. She got 2 recruits. Bob, you know what that means? Bob, you're almost a division. He said, a division? I thought I was almost a division. Yeah, but you don't understand. Now we've got you almost ready to go to division. But Bob, you got to go out there and get what? 3 more personal financial analysts. And so instead of Bob sitting there getting into management stage and relaxing and kind of coaching, what's he do? Now he's got another sense of urgency because I've already sold him on the fact, hey, man, you're almost a division. Now you've got 2 guys that are almost there. And you say, man, Bob, you know what's fixing that? You know what's fixing to take place? You're almost a regional manager. He says, you're kidding me. And he said, well, how much do they know? Well, they know their team's growing. They know they'd rather be on a 70% contract than a 25. You think they're going to have a sense of start learning now, coming to training class? Some of y'all say, well, I can't get them come to training class. You know why? They ain't got a reason to. All of a sudden, they got to say, oh, I got to get to training class. I got to get my securities license. See the sense of urgency? See how you build an organization fast? See how you explode versus evolve? Now you look around, there's a meeting, there's old Bob. He's over there and he's getting the people, make sure they got their orders. They come to opportunity meetings, they're calling their people. What are you doing? You're transferring your responsibility. You can't grow if you do it all yourself. You can't grow. Now, here's what we teach and talk to our districts about and all of our leaders about. Number one, and you've seen me do this before, but number one, how wide are you? I mean, this is critical. How wide are you? You got to ask yourself, how really wide are you? How many directs do you have? Wide do you? Number two, how wide are you nightly? How many of those people are actually going out, across the kitchen table, telling our story with a passion that would incite those people to want to come to our opportunity meetings and come to our company? Number three, how productive are you nightly? How many of those people out there are actually producing? Are they really bringing home anything? Or are they just going out there telling a story and not getting anything? I mean, if you go out, it's just like a wide receiver. You go out for enough passes, you're supposed to bring the ball back something. You're supposed to catch something, okay? And the fourth thing is, more than anything else, is how reproductively wide are you nightly? Now, how do you get productive wide? You got to start going out by yourself. You got to learn how to go out. Well, once I get you trained, you're going to be doing that. But by the time you get your license, I've probably got a team built for you. I've already got 3 or 4 of them trained. Now you need to start going out there and helping train people. So visualize every night, if you have 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 15 people out there, field training other people to go back through the same system. Does that make sense to you? That's how you don't build an organization the other way. The only way you're going to build big organizations is have multiple people out there training other people that's already gone through the same system that you're going to put the new people through. Now, this is another thing that we do that we're fanatical about. This is called the push point theory. Everything we do, we want people to go from one point to another point to another point. If I get somebody say they go across a kitchen table, all right? Now, what's the next thing? I got to get them from there to the next point, which the next point might be an opportunity. And then from there, it might be the training class. Then from there, it might be the phone call session on Sunday afternoon. And then from there, it might be back out in the field. And from there, where is it? Back in the opportunity. So then the fast start school, then the potluck dinner. Every time they come, what are they supposed to be doing? Bringing more and more and more and more and more people. Now, how do you know if your team's growing? There's 2 times to panic about your team. One is if you have bad quality business, you better get on top of that. Okay. 2 is if you got less numbers coming to the meetings you had before, you got to get more. So how do you do that? By going across that kitchen table over and over and over with a reproductive mentality. Remember, it's not the size of the tree, it's not the fruit, it's how many other trees you build. Okay. So remember the push point theory. The other thing I talked about just a minute ago, as I said, you got to make sure that your people are constantly expanding their market. So one thing that we do, and it might help you out a little bit, is we teach everybody that we bring in how to do the form and steaming, because once again, a new recruit will know how to do that. We also give them cards, a form and steam card, so everywhere they go, every time they're out there, they're talking to people about our business. Now, if you don't have the cards with you, what most of us do is we meet people, but we don't write those names down. Then they become just memories, but they don't become part of our business. Now, if you're thinking about a recruiting machine, then everybody you see, you got to think about becoming a part of a business. So you see on the overlay, the STEAM. This is how do you come up with a name? STEAM, salespeople, teachers, enthusiastic people, ambitious people, money motivated people, and you write the name down. Okay, on the back side of it is FORM, FORM, family, occupation, recreation, mesh. You've seen all these things before, but every day I want to have a goal to have 5 new contacts, and I write them on the card. And once we write them on the card, where do we move them? We move them onto our 30 name list. Now, why do we move them on our 30 name list? Because we move them on our 30 name list as to fill up our inventory. Now, why do we have to do this? Why do we have to keep bringing in putting new people on our 30 name list? Why? We work off our 30 name list. Now, if you don't put them on here, what happens? They don't get contacted. So we want to move them from this list. We move from our prospect list into this list, and from this list into our schedule. Why? Because they become either part of our sales force or become part of our client base. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Now, with that, you have to develop what's called a recruiting mentality. I'm going to run through these things for you real fast. And here's what we try to talk to people about as far as a recruiting mentality. By the way, what I do is I try to teach our people to go out with 2 caps. You always think about this. One is, it's really 1 cap, but you got 2 bills. One is a recruiting cap. The other one is a coaching bill. So you just visualize one hat, 1 bill sticking out here says recruiting, and the other one that's sticking out here is coaching. So I'm always thinking about recruiting, and recruiting is enticing people to come aboard with our team. Recruiting is getting that recruit to come to your school, to want to play for your team, all right? And so what you do is you always put your best foot forward. We're going to talk about that in a second. And then when you get them in, now you don't keep, the recruiting process continues because you don't want to leave and go into another school, but you also now need to start coaching them and developing through the system like we've been talking about for the last 30, 45 minutes. Let me go through our recruiting mentality with you real fast. Number one, every time I wake up in the undeveloped this. You ever heard that song, Howdy Doody? It's howdy doody time. Now, I know it sounds wacko, but every time you open your eyes up, if you think it's PFS time, now, you know what you're going to do? You're going to dress right. You're going to groom yourself right. You're going to put what are you going to do? You're going to put your recruiting card in your pocket. You're going to put your goals in your pocket. You're going to put your mints in your pocket. You're going to dress right. You're going to groom yourself right. You're going to put a smile on your face. Why? Because it's PFS time. How do you know the next person you pass by might be a Jimmy Mars or Mark Marchesani and you weren't ready? So you got to be ready. It's PFS time every day, every time you wake up. It's a fanaticism, it's a mentality. Number two, you got to have a next mentality. Next. Now, that's not a cold mentality. A next mentality is if they say, yes, I want to come to a meeting. Yes, you can have an appointment. Yes, I'd like to talk to you. You don't jump up and down and sing hallelujah and jump. I mean, the guy would think you're some kind of wacko, right? I mean, I heard an official tell a player one time he scored a touchdown in the NFL and he started jumping around, spiking the ball, doing flips. And a referee went to the player and said, why don't you act like you've been here before? Okay, I mean, if this is your first, I mean, this shouldn't be your only time you get to celebrate because you've been here before, okay? So when you prospect, somebody says, yes, don't get crazy, or you recruit some of the business, don't go crazy and shut it down and relax. Don't celebrate and move forward. If they say no, no problem. If they say maybe, no problem, because you've got to keep recruiting anyhow. You've got to keep bringing in new people, so you got to keep that pipeline going. You're not going to have it come out the back end. Number three, timing is everything. See, if you want to have a child, if you want to have puppies, or like we bred our little dog a few years back. And, you know, it didn't matter when we wanted that dog to get pregnant. It mattered when the timing was right for that dog to get pregnant. Timing is everything. You gotta make sure that you understand that timing is everything with people. So it took me one guy. I got a guy in our base shop right now, Jim Elise. It took me 8 years to get this guy back in our business. I got another guy, Mike Lockhart, just got his $100,000 ring as a regional manager. I caught Mike right at the right time in his life, and he jumped all over this thing. The timing's everything. Number four. The old philosophy, if it crosses your face, take it out. We used to teach this where I coach football. If a blocker crosses, then take him out. If a person, you're out in the public, you're out about, and a person crosses your face, you got to take him out. You got to talk to him. Now, we usually do this, and we don't talk to him. But we don't talk to him. You got to talk. You ever seen a baby? Well, you ever seen any food go by a baby's mouth? What they do? And they're trying to catch that deal, right? Down south, we got alligators. You cross their faces. No, but that's what you got to do. Number five, remember this. You don't throw the dadgum bait box at them. You don't tackle box at them. You don't, you throw the bait at them. You don't, some of y'all, we don't throw the tackle. We throw the boat and the oars and everything else, right? I mean, the bait's important. The bait's important, right? This rabbit, I don't know how many of y'all have ever hunted, but I used to do a lot of rabbit hunting when I was growing up. Let me tell you about rabbit hunting. If you just want to kill 1 or 2 rabbits, you just sit there and let the dogs run them, and you stand in one spot, and the rabbit will come out and you shoot the rabbit. Okay, that's dumb. You know what you do is, if you really want to be a great rabbit and you want to kill a lot of rabbits, what you do is you go down, let everybody else stand in one spot waiting for the dogs to run them. What you do is you go down, you kick the fence rows, you go in the thorn bush, you say, well, Bill, that's a lot harder. Well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, okay? Making $1.3 million is worth kicking a few bushes, right? So you go where the people are, okay? You don't wait for them to come to you. You go to where the people are. Then if you go to where the people are and they cross your face, what do? You take them out in the 3-foot rule. If they're not close enough, what do? You move closer. Look at this, go deep. Let me tell you what happened to me. A lot of people, like drilling oil, they got oil down south. You drill oil, if you're going down deep, you don't hit it, you just keep going sideways, you go this way. But if you think it's there, you keep drilling. Let me give you an indication of that. I went to Popeye's Fried Chicken one day because my kids wanted some fried chicken. So we go on and sit, and this gentleman comes in, and he's got 2 kids. So he's sitting right here, his mom and pop, they got 2 kids sitting right over here. Kid 1, kid 2, right? My kids are over there and start talking to their kids. So I kind of go over there, and I start talking to these 2 people, find out what they're doing, and we strike up a conversation. I find out what type of work he's in, and I set up a point for him to get together with me. And this person weaned it out. But what happens? This person introduced me to a guy that was in the investment banking business. He weaned it out, but his wife, who was a school teacher, she came in and did pretty well. Eventually, she weaned it out, but she brought me to an athletic director of a major college football team down in Louisiana. He weaned it out, but he brought me to a guy by the name of Troy Fields. Troy Fields is my #1 producing first-generation vice president, and look what happened. All from eating Popeye's fried chicken. So what's the moral of the story? I don't know, but you got to go deep, right? I mean, you can't just, right? You see what, does that make sense, right? Now, Troy Fields, hey, Troy Fields is an animal. He's incredible. Well, what if I'd have just kind of gave up? She just keep going down and down and down and down and down. And by the way, out of that, every one of those people eventually became district leaders, by the way. Every one of them. But he's the only one that stayed. You don't win the Kentucky Derby with all the horses that didn't make the race. You win the Kentucky Derby with the ones who makes the race and wins the race. Let me tell you another thing. Let me tell you this, okay? Okay. Let me tell you another thing that I think a lot of people. Troy's father is Gary Fields, and he's an incredible fisherman. I'm not that good, but let me tell you how I know I can beat his dad fishing. See, he's got all these trophies, got all these special poles and reels, and he knows how to use the baits and the lures and how to entice the fish and talk to them, all that kind of stuff. Let me tell you how I think I could beat him. Anybody know what a trout line is? Okay, it's where you stretch a line all the way across the water and you put a ton of hooks down, lines and hooks down it. I promise you, he couldn't outfish me. A better way, though, if this was legal, I wouldn't do it. If I took a stick of dynamite and threw it in the water, all of them come floating up there, okay? Now, what I'm saying is, guys, you got to create an explosion. We're not going to build this thing by just kind of go out there and throwing a little hook here, a little hip here, get a little cane pole and a little bitty bobber. You got to go out there and throw a daggum stick of mine and that dynamite there, and boom, I mean, they all come float up there, and then you rake them in your boat, right? And you clean them. I mean, there's another question. We're all worried about, we think when we throw a line out there and bring in a fish, it's supposed to come back in, fillet of bass, cocktail sauce all over top of it, a little tartar sauce on the side, crab meat. That ain't how it works. When do you catch a fish? When you clean a fish? After you catch it, right? That's when you clean a fish after you catch it. A lot of us think we're supposed to catch them and they're supposed to be perfect. They ain't gonna be perfect. Most of us came to this thing not perfect. So let's don't prejudge. Here's my philosophy. Everybody should belong to this company. Everybody. And you need to adopt that philosophy, right? We got a system. And the other thing I wrote down there is just the KISS concept and recruiting and developing these people. KISS just simply meaning not keep it simple, stupid, but keep it short and simple. Everything's got to be very pleasing that you do. Everything's got to be very pleasant. Everything's got to be simple enough where everybody coming in can, it's just a system. They know they can duplicate it. And I'll end it with this. This was in a major magazine. It says, recruiting is the business that keeps coaches employed. And it had some major ACC and Big Ten coaches. And this is what it says. It says, the business is recruiting. This is talking about major college basketball. It says, the business is recruiting. And in college basketball, it is everything. Coming up with a terrific game plan and terrific fundamentals is wonderful, but without raw material to work, without talented players, all that means that you look good losing. Recruiting is the name of the game. Hey, let's go out and start a recruiting explosion. Let's go out and get the job done. Let's bring tons of people in, put them through the pipeline, build great leaders, and let's take advantage of this incredible opportunity that they put together for us, okay? Thank you. God bless.